Hey guys, what's up? John Schumacher here with New Wave Healthcare, where health professionals come to learn business and learn marketing. As always, check out all our archived interviews, all the great information over at newwavehealthcare.com to get tips for how to expand your business, how to market your business, and how to explode your healthcare business. Go over to newwavehealthcare.com. Today, our guest is Dr. Randi Ross. Dr. Ross is the founder and creator of Community Wellness Day, the most successful community program to brand yourself as a leading healthcare figure in your community. Dr. Ross has been in the wellness industry for over 2.5 decades, and in 1988 started her own practice in New York City, and quickly realized without a lot of successful business models to follow that she was going to have to branch out and do something different if she was going to make her practice succeed. So she started formulating and experimenting with different business plans and marketing plans and came up with a community-based program where she could establish herself as an authority in her community, create long-term growth, and establish and cultivate important business relationships all over her community. And so today, Dr. Ross is lovely enough to come on our show and share this knowledge with us all, as she shared with so many healthcare practitioners. She said over 500, I believe, healthcare practitioners just like you. So today we have Dr. Randi Ross. Randi, we love you. Thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your knowledge and expertise in an area that a lot of people really don't know exists or that they need to do or should do. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about you, and then we'll jump into this whole community wellness thing.
All right. Well, thank you, John, so much for having me here today. I appreciate getting an opportunity to share with your viewers. And, you know, one of the things you kind of already explained a little bit about my background, how I came to do this. But one of the interesting things of what made me think of this process actually goes back to my dad, who was the greatest salesman in the world. And I remember as a kid going out cold calling with him, and he had this amazing ability to connect with people. And, you know, literally he would get clients from, from other salespeople. They would, would take their clients away, just because he knew how to connect with people. He knew how to even go back and remember certain things about them. And he built these relationships, and as a result of that, he was always the top salesman in any company he was with. And I kind of drew from that when I started my business, because like you said, there really was not much to forge some 25 years ago. I like to date myself, but more than that now, actually, a little bit more than that. It was a lot of, go around and give out business cards and things like that, which, we all still continue to do, but it wasn't enough. And I was in a neighborhood in Bensonhurst, Brooklyn, for those of you that, know that area. And a lot of people thought that I was a guy because my name was Randi, even though it was with an I. And I would walk into a room, and here'd be this like old Italian guy in broken English going, we're the doctor. And I'd be like, I'm the doctor. No, the doctor. So I really had to kind of forge through and get myself out there and get myself known. And I started realizing that the best, most effective way that I can do this wasn't going to be with a gimmick, wasn't going to be with an ad in the paper, wasn't going to be with any of those things. Not that those things are bad, was that I had to build relationships so everybody knew my name, everybody knew who I was. And I started small. I started just going around. The first was I went to lunch with the lawyer that read my lease, was like best friends with the bank president in town. So I said to him, oh, take me to lunch with you guys. I'll buy lunch. I knew they wouldn't let me buy lunch, but I want to meet him. That's an important person. And that's kind of how it all got forged. And then little by little, I started meeting all the important people in town. And here's the really interesting thing about what I call, we'll see if this works, what I call relationship marketing, there we go, is that it's timeless. And if you think about that, it doesn't really matter about Obamacare. It doesn't matter where you practice, what your state laws are, what your scope of practice is, what insurance becomes. Those are all things that are out of your control. Okay, and they're going to always be changing. But one thing that never changes is that relationships afford you the opportunity for people to trust you. And there's actually, let me see if I have this here. There's a kind of a famous guy, and his name is Dr. Doug Brown, and he's actually the head of an entire MBA program at Post University. And he did an interview in Inc. magazine, and this is one of the quotes from there, and actually Doug and I have become friends as a result of this. He says, "Establish genuine relationships. The first thing to remember is that people prefer to buy from those they know and trust is built by establishing genuine relationships, not business transactions."
Right.
And I think that's a really important thing for us to recognize is when people trust you and they have a chance to get to know you, and it doesn't happen with one meeting, you have to be a little bit patient, that kind of trust will grow your business. And when the important thing to remember is that relationship marketing comes in 3 phases, and we have that here. And it is initiating. I got to get better at this, don't I?
A little more, up a little more.
There you go. It's 3 stages: initiating, cultivating, and sustaining. That's relationship marketing. It's not, I'm going to go to lunch, with the president of the bank and hope that in the next year he sends me 20 new patients. Well, if you're going to lunch with someone one time or have drinks with them or whatever, your connection is, that's not a relationship makes. I mean, if you're married or, you're dating someone, you don't go out with someone for drinks one time and say, hey, let's get married and spend the rest of our lives together. It takes time.
Yeah.
And this process is the same thing, but just as taking the time to get to know a significant other and building a relationship, is something that provides value to your life, so does relationship marketing provide value to your business growth. I can tell you emphatically, without a shadow of a doubt, there is no other way that you could have real long-term sustainable growth in your business without doing relationship marketing. It's something that anyone can do. There are some kind of important things to really remember about relationship marketing. We're all very guilty of not being great listeners. And I think our attention span has become very short with all the, we're inundated with information and everything's so fast-paced, and, we're never without being connected, that I think we really forget to listen to people. And that's where the connections come from. And I always train people that if you're going out to have lunch with your mayor or the president of a bank or the director of a department of a hospital, wherever you're building these relationships, one of the most important things to remember is you have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, because you're supposed to listen twice as much as you talk. Mm-hmm. And what I always tell people is that if you really listen and ask people about themselves in one of these meetings, what you're going to find somewhere in there is there's going to be a little bell that's going to go off in your head going, that's probably something that I could help them with. Mm-hmm. But if you don't listen and you just go into everything with an agenda, and your agenda is self-serving and about you and about your for-profit business, you really can't even get to that place of really establishing that relationship and giving people an opportunity to trust you. So that's kind of a little bit of a Reader's Digest version of, something that I train people for weeks on about, what relationship marketing is, something we should all do. Huge disconnect for health providers. Huge. Right. People that are great at it are like realtors, lawyers, bankers, but health providers, it's something that we think we don't have to do. Right. And it's sad because it's something that could literally, in some cases, I've had people double their business as a result of just understanding how to get out there and really make themselves known in the community.
Right. Yeah, I think you made a perfect case there for, why networking and building relationships with any business, but even in healthcare now, which you so greatly pointed out, was something that we've been lacking, I think, because of, a lot of health professionals, physical therapists haven't probably felt the need to do that because they get all these referral sources coming and from physicians, and it's just sort of just a nonstop conveyor belt of referrals, and they haven't really had to go out and brand themselves because they just get patients anyway. But in chiropractic, like what you're in, obviously you better do that or you're in trouble.
Yeah.
You better be able to create relationships, market your business. But do you see that trend changing? Do you see that all healthcare practitioners, with changes in law and the way things are going, are going to have to be better at this? Or
Yes, yeah, and I think it's interesting when you start seeing groups like orthopedic surgeons, who the same thing. They never had to really market, and all hospitals and some of these big groups that are together, they all have their people out there front and center. If you
yeah,
have any kind of like a high-end magazine, depending upon where you live, a New York magazine. I live here in New Jersey, and they have this really fancy magazine that comes out once a month. And usually, like, the back 10 pages is, all the galas and the fundraisers and all those things. If you notice, it's now a lot of medical doctors that are at those events. And because their department heads now have told them, you have to go out there and go to these dinners and meet people and make sure that they know who you are, what you do, what our department stands for. So when you're not part of a group where someone's forcing you to do it, you need to really be aggressive on your own and
Yep.
really recognize, even if you get referrals, and that's the foundation of your business, of your practice, is you get referrals from other sources. You're only going to improve your business, solidify your standing in the community, really cement your presence. And what you find is things happen that you would never even know about. Too many health providers, like you said, we're kind of sitting in our office,
Yep.
and we're getting patients fed to us in one way or another, and we're kind of like living this little cocoon by ourselves, and we function and we're successful and we help people and all that. But when you get out there, there are things going on in healthcare in every single community of everyone watching this that I promise you have no idea about, because you're not tapped in.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're not out there talking to people. There's health initiatives and wellness initiatives and programs galore. What's more polarized a topic right now than healthcare and everything to do with healthcare? Unless you live in the state of New Jersey, and then it's Bridgegate. But other than that, really, what is everyone talking about? Maybe it got a little quiet in the last month because Obamacare got pushed back like 16 months or whatever the process is. But boom, it's going to be right up there again by the summer or the fall. And it's always going to be a polarizing issue because it's very challenging financially, to our entire culture. So when you can make yourself stand out, when you know all the important players in your town, I always say, when you get invited to the dance, when you get invited to the galas and the fundraise and is asked to be a part of philanthropic programs in your community, that's when you've tapped into something that very few healthcare providers do. I call it the upper inner circle.
Right.
And most of us, we're just never really a part of that. That's where big business happens. That's it. That's why, I actually used to do this whole presentation called "Why Does Donald Trump Play Golf?" And it's because that's where business happens. That's where you meet people. That's where you build relationships. So
Right.
something that I want to point out that's really important, and this is a formula, John, that a lot of people really don't understand, and this is why relationship marketing is so important. I'm going to get this one of these days. There we go. Okay, you see that? So
I see it. Yep.
Okay, so this is a really important formula that I guarantee many of your viewers do not know. And what it tells us, we call it the 70-20-10 rule. And what this is telling us is a really solid business model for healthcare providers is 70% of your practice growth should come from within your practice, with referrals and other things that are already going on internally. 20% of your business should come from the community,
Mm-hmm.
and only 10% should come from any kind of internet, social media, electronic things, blah, blah. And I know I'll probably get like 100 emails with people telling me that they get 50 patients a month from Facebook, and God bless you, but that's not a formula that's successful for most people. And what we concentrate on is this 20%. Mm-hmm. Because what we find, not only do you get 20% growth in your business, which is really cool for anybody, but when you really solidify that 20% and cement that 20%, that community area, the internal becomes larger and more solidified too, because if you're everywhere in the media, and you're on TV and you're on radio and they see you in print ads and they see you on Facebook and they see you hosting community health programs and all these things, it makes your patients talk about you more. So even the ones that refer to you are going to want to refer to you more.
Right.
Okay? It's elevating that credibility, which is really, really important in really creating that solid foundation for any type of health provider. Is you want the highest level of credibility. You know, you want people to want to go to you, and especially with everything going on in healthcare, I think it's important because people are going to be going in their pocket a lot more. You know, we have a whole new kind of demographic of people that are going to be coming around, which are really educated healthcare consumers. Because even if they have healthcare, we know that most people are going to have $5,000 and $10,000 deductibles, which is kind of not like having health insurance. So if I need a physical therapist, well, if I'm going to my pocket to pay for it, I want to go to the best. Right. You know, and that's our human nature. I always give the example. Last year I fell and I shattered my patella, and people would be like, "Oh, who's your orthopedic surgeon?" I couldn't even remember his name half the time, but I remembered that he was the orthopedic surgeon for the Philadelphia Eagles. Yeah. You know, so I was like bragging about that. And I think the same kind of thing happens really when you position yourself in the community. If I'm going to pay for your services because of the healthcare model that's coming around, then I want to make sure that I'm getting the best, and that's something that, you know, when you're out there, when you really have this strong presence, you're really going to find that that's the response that people have for you.
Right. Yeah, and even if you're an employee, you still want to be the best, or whatever you are, small business, employee. If you're a healthcare provider, you want to be the best, and people want to know, like, and trust you. You have to get out in the community, network, build relationships. And a cool thing that you're talking about is this Community Health Day. And I'd love for you to touch on that some and really paint a picture, because I think a lot of people haven't heard of that. I wasn't familiar with that, and when we talked, I was like, oh, that's really cool. I want to get you on here and have you share that. Is the idea of putting on a Community Health Day in your community, you know, how does that process work? How do you start that?
Sure.
Dive into that?
Yep. Well, what's really cool is it was definitely an evolutionary process. Started as something really small by myself when I was in practice, and kind of evolved into this entire program that for the last decade I've been sharing with hundreds and hundreds. Like you said, probably now more than 500 providers have done our program and have worked with me. And what you really want to understand is there's 5 things that you need to be doing in your community to make sure that your healthcare practice is really healthy and continuing to grow. You want to have exposure. You want to have publicity. You want to have key relationships. Okay. You want to have affiliates with people in your community, you know, that you can somehow leverage those relationships. And you also want to have credibility and legitimacy. And these are things that you're kind of doing every day. Whether it's you're going and meeting, you know, with, in the case of physical therapists, you go and you meet with doctors that are referring to you, or other types of providers that refer to you for you to care for their patients. And we're often doing that one by one. And to really make a strong impact, it takes a really long time to do that. It could take years to really meet enough people in the community, because, you know, you're not going to do it every single day because you're running your practice and you have a private life. So what hosting a community health program allows you to do is it allows you to take what I call 10 years of relationship marketing, and we kind of condense it down into 4 or 5 months. So what we do is we take you through this turnkey process. We hold your hand. Every week we give you a new task to do, very topic specific. This isn't a, hey, here's a manual, go ahead and good luck and see how you do, and, you know, let me know when it's all over. No, this is very handheld, very specific. You don't have to figure anything out. What do I have here? People ask me, what are the biggest mistakes they make in business? Right?
Let's see, I can't read it. There you go.
There we go.
Don't reinvent the wheel.
And how many of us do that? And the thing is that sometimes I'll talk to people and it's like, well, how come you don't do any programs in your community? Well, I don't know what to do. And there's really not a lot of people like me out there. As a matter of fact, I honestly don't know anyone else in healthcare that knows what I know or does what I do. And I don't say that with arrogance. I just say it as, you know, it's the truth. There's no one that has a comprehensive turnkey program with the history for 25 years that we've been doing this with hundreds and hundreds of providers. And we really teach you a lot that parallels your office, which is really fun. So, some of these relationship marketing strategies that we've shared with you here, well, now we have you going out there, under the umbrella of, hey, my name's John Schumacher. I'm hosting Community Wellness Day here in town, and I wanted us, to spend some time talking with you about how we can align ourselves together to serve the needs of our community. Now, you're going to get those meetings with your politicians, with the police departments, with the heads of hospitals, with other health providers, so on and so forth. You get those meetings, and when people come together and do something to serve the community, it really creates a very unique bond. So it really gives you a way to connect with people that's very unique. And sometimes it's hard to do without a process like this behind you or in front of you, so to speak, because otherwise it just seems like, well, you just want to take me to lunch to tell me about your office, and hopefully I'll send you patients, and
So that's the first step you would do. Say you're a personal trainer, a therapist, a doctor, a chiropractor, any profession in healthcare. The first step you would do if you were going to do this is to simply reach out to officials in your area or the mayor or whoever, if you can. I mean, how do you get a hold of those people? And then you just simply ask them what you just said. I mean, are you looking to partner basically in a health program for the community, or how does that look?
Yeah, well, you know what, we have, again, used a political official as an example. I love political officials. I think they're the biggest disconnect with healthcare providers. Every single healthcare provider should know your mayor, your state representative, anybody else that you can get in touch with. Those people know things and open doors that you don't even know exist. They're trying to create wellness programs all over the place. They don't even know what to do. Yeah. So when you come into their lives, I mean, I can tell you like amazing stories of people that after hosting Community Wellness Day would get a phone call from their local politician that was at the event and say, hey, we're hosting this wellness initiative, would you be a part of the chair? But to answer your question more specifically, that's what we do. In other words, an entire training is based on how to reach out for your politicians, what you say to them, what you're asking for. When you have a meeting with them, what is it that you do to prepare for that? Again, what are you listening for? What are you asking for? How are you making that connection that not only is going to get them excited about being a part of your Community Wellness Day, but actually get them excited about having you a part of different wellness things that are going on in the community? And that's what we do. There's literally no stone left unturned. You don't have to figure anything out on your own. And the outcomes are really extraordinary. Right. The things that happen to people are just enormous.
Right. Yeah. So let's say you get their appointment. It sounds like you have a wonderful service. That sounds awesome that you guys would help health professionals, basically hold their hand through that whole process. But let's just say that you got the meeting. You've arranged, to work with a few officials, whether politicians or people of status in your community. And so how do you go about? I mean, what ideas could you use as a community wellness program? I mean, how would you set that up?
Well, I'll give you, our tagline that is actually trademarked and people, our members use is, and this works every single time. I always train people that, as we said a few minutes ago, always listen to, always preparation meets opportunity. This is the biggest thing, too. And with the internet today, there's never an excuse not to know every single thing about someone that you're meeting with. Yep. Because that gives you the opportunity to ask questions that are going to give them the chance to talk about themselves. And and you could be more prepared that way. But one of the things that we always tell people when you're going out talking about Community Wellness Day that gets them every time is they say, we both know, or we all know if it was a group of people, that the healthcare crisis is never going to be solved in Washington. It's going to be solved when we come together as a community and we give people back the tools, the knowledge, the skills that they need and empower them to make better lifestyle choices. Yep. And I tell them to shake their head while they're saying it. And just like you're doing now, John, that's everyone's reaction. And when you say that, man, you got them. You
Right.
got them. And then they're like, wow, how can I help you? How can we make this bigger and better for our community? Because real powerful change starts at a grassroots level.
Right.
It's not a national thing.
No, that's right. And prevention and wellness is where it's at. So, so what would be an example of a wellness program? Would it be an education program on diet or exercise, or what's an
Well,
example?
one of the things that we've done, and we've kind of evolved it to over the years for a specific reason, is that we don't pigeonhole it. This isn't just, a glorified health expo. We really want it to be appealing to the masses in your community. We don't make it specific to any demographic. There's information for everyone. But we pull in four core concepts. We pull in health, safety, environmental, and financial wellness. And we really feel that that gives you a well-rounded event, not only as far as information for the people, the attendees coming through, but it also gives you a well-rounded opportunity to connect with people beyond the healthcare forum. So, and that's important as well, because today there's all kinds of programs in every agency, in every company. Police and fire departments all over the United States have $1 million grants that they don't even know what to do with. And these are the kind of things, when you connect with these people because you invite them to be a part of your community wellness day, now you're building a bond, now you're building a brotherhood. So guess what? When that money trickles down to that fire department in your neighborhood, well, who are they calling to find out what kind of programs you might have? They're
Right.
not calling the person they don't know. They're going to call John because they just, were a part of your community wellness day and think that you're this really cool guy.
Right. Yep. Yep. That's why it's so key to have those relationships, right? I mean, knowing and trusting is everything, and people won't work with you if they don't know, like, and trust you. So, I think that's perfectly put there. So it's a variety of things, basically. These wellness days, they're not just like a one type of event. It's multiple arenas that you're working with, through people or through different topics, basically.
Yeah,
Uh,
we work with those four core concepts, and then, we have other things going on at the event. I call them fun secondary things to kind of keep people around and, keep them engaged. And we also align with a charity to build a little bit of credibility as well.
So it sounds like there's a lot of people involved in this. I mean, so this would take maybe some time to develop, right? I mean, if you're having multiple topics and multiple areas, it sounds like a big event. I mean, what's the time frame like? Is somebody who's like a starting clinician or a small practice able to do this in a timely manner?
Absolutely. Our training program runs for 20 weeks,
Hmm.
and we actually just got started for our spring events. Optimally to host events like these are only in spring or fall, so we just started up for our spring event. And the great thing about having a program like ours, where we've made all the mistakes over the years, we know what works, we know what doesn't work, so we can deliver you the steps that if you just follow directions. I always say that to people: just follow directions, because that's challenging for some people. That you're looking at about an hour or two a week, and you can get this done. Obviously a couple weeks out from your event, a little more time is required, but we also show you lots of steps of getting people to support you. You mentioned something that's really important. You said, is a new practitioner someone that can manage this? I can tell you that as a new practitioner, there is no better way anywhere to catapult your practice and your business probably 5 to 10 years ahead than by hosting a community health program. Because you're going to, in a short time frame, you're going to meet all the important people in your community. You're going to connect with school districts, with fire departments, with FBI agencies, with politicians, with hospitals, with health providers. I mean, the list is so long of people that you're going to connect with. How would you possibly be embraced by that many people in such a short time frame?
Right.
Could
Yeah,
never happen.
that's huge. That's wonderful. That's I think you put it very well as to why that people should be looking at this as a way to brand themselves as the go-to health expert in their community. And I think it's a fabulous program. And would you okay, so we're getting towards the end of our talk here. I mean, I think you did a great job of kind of painting the picture of what it is and why it's so important. But can you just share with our listeners a little bit about where they can learn more about you, and if they like, find out more about your services?
Sure. If you can see my lower third, that's our website. It's just Community Wellness Day, all one word.com. But you can find me on Facebook. I'm pretty easy to find at Community Wellness Day or Randi Ross. You can find me on Google Plus. I'm a big Hangout person. Again, just go on to communitywellnessday.com, or you can just simply email me at drrandi, drrandi, and it's communitywellnessday.com, all one word. I'm happy to meet with anyone listening here. Just mention, John and the New Wave Healthcare, and we'll spend a few minutes together, and we'll do kind of a little relationship marketing consult. And we'll see, what are you doing? What could you be doing better? If you're not doing anything, we'll tell you the reasons why you should be doing a few things. And sometimes our seasoned practitioners think that they can kind of sit on their laurels a little bit, and I can tell you that that's not a good idea. You always want to be ahead of the game, not waiting till things happen when you find yourself needing to do something. And for those of you that do have large practices and staff, you can very easily turn this over to a staff member that can really handle a majority of the planning. Again, an hour or two a week, as long as you follow directions.
Sounds good. Well, we appreciate you coming on the show and sharing what you just shared with us today. And I'm sure a lot of people would love to take advantage of the opportunity to work with you, because this, like you said, is a timeless way to make yourself the person in your community. And I don't think there's any better marketing than having people know your name, like you, and trust you. That's where it's at. So I appreciate you coming on and sharing what you did today. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for giving me an opportunity to be here, John. I appreciate it and look forward to working with anyone that wants to give me a call.
Absolutely. So, and guys, as always, you can find the replay of this webinar today over at newwavehealthcare.com, and we'll make a link /Randi Ross. That's newwavehealthcare.com /Randi Ross. We'll have all our information linked up on the page. Probably by, I'd say, Wednesday, I'll have that page done and up on the newwavehealthcare.com website. So hope you all enjoyed that information today. Our next talk will be Monday the 20th, January 20th. We'll have another great show talking about another health topic, another topic that's specific to business and marketing and healthcare. So I will see you all then. Take care and have a great Monday evening.